So why is it that we continue to have these problems of intersectionality? Why does it continue to happen that most of the manifestations of gender discrimination that affect non-white women are so difficult for our movements to incorporate? And why is it that race movements almost never effectively deal with questions of gender? Well, maybe the problem is the way groups are imagined. When we think about groups and we think about politics, we think there's women, and they deal with sexism. And there's people of color, and they deal with racism. And there's poor people, they have to do with class bias. And then there's age and disability, et cetera, right? These are all mutually exclusive groups. And therefore, mutually exclusive politics, mutually exclusive policies. Well, the reality is that most groups are not mutually exclusive. Most of us are simultaneously in many different groups, and sometimes in many different groups that all suffer some form of discrimination. What happens when our politics don't match our reality? What happens when our movements don't fully include the things that happen to us? Well, there are certain ways in which this is almost written into our basic politics. One of the problems is how we imagine the prototype of discrimination. So we tend to think about race, for example, as conflict between men, right? And we tend to think often of gender as conflict between men and women who are basically the same, right? And so what this means is the leaders of the movement, those who represent, those whose biographies tell us what race discrimination looks like, what gender discrimination look like, are those who are the most powerful in the group. It's them that establish the prototype for what discrimination looks like. Now, what I want to say to you is that this is not a problem of ill will. It's not something that I even remotely want to suggest guilt is going to help us think about. I'm not suggesting intentional exclusion or even conscious exclusion. It's a quite common problem, one that's deadly though, but common. Let me give you an example. A person near and dear to me, who's with me today, has a particular way of looking for things. Say, I say, I'm looking for my white suit. Would you look in the closet and find it for me and bring it when you come out? So what he'll do is generate a picture in his mind's eye of a white suit. And then he'll look for a match between the picture in his mind's eye and the material world. He'll then scour the apartment looking for this image that he has in his mind. But what if the suit that I want doesn't match the image that he has in his mind? What if he's looking for a double-breasted jacket and trousers, and what I'm thinking about is my zip jacket and a skirt? Will he see it? It depends on his ability to expand the prototype to see what is there as analogous to what he had in his mind's eye. Some people are good at seeing analogies. Most of us aren't, especially in politics. So what is the consequence of this in feminism? Sometimes we fail to see the specific contours of women's context because they just don't fit our prototypical vision. Where the prototype doesn't fit, the issue doesn't get included. This is intersectional erasure.